Okay, so this is lesson 3. Okay, so lesson 3 of measurement. It's the same as what we did before. The difference here is now we're not just working with metric or just working with imperial. We're going from one to the other. Okay, so it does not work out as nicely as it does with just metric, but it's about the same as when we were working with imperial. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. We're adding two charts that we'll be using on our formula sheet. Okay, we have one that says like if you're going from imperial to the metric, it tells you like how much is 1 inch in metric. Okay, 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, right? Or 1 foot is 0.31 meters. Okay, so that is, um, this is easiest if you're starting with the imperial system and then going to the metric. You'd say one of these and then you're timing by whatever the number is to get to the other side. If you're starting with metric and then going to imperial, it's easiest to work with this chart where you start with like 1 millimeter. That's the same as 0.039 inches. In terms of how you do the math, it works out exactly like we did it before, where we'd say if you were going from kilometers to miles, you'd say, okay, going from kilometers to miles, what do I have to do? Times by 0.62, right? Times by this number. Or if I'm going from, let's say, from imperial to metric, if I was going from miles to kilometers, right? Starting with miles, going to kilometers, I'm timesing by 1.6. So it's a messier in that you're using decimal numbers now, but the process is exactly the same. Okay, so these questions here, to start off, are quite straightforward. Okay, how many centimeters are in 1 inch? Centimeters in 1 inch. Okay, if 1 inch, how many centimeters? 2.54. Okay, that would be how many inches would it be in 1 centimeter? Okay, so in 1 inch, how many centimeters? 2.54. Okay, so now the next one says how many miles are there in 1 kilometer? Okay, so we're starting with 1 kilometer and then going 2 miles. So we're starting with 1 kilometer and going to miles. 1 kilometer is 0.62 miles. Okay. So here's an example question that's a little bit more like has some words to it, right? A soccer goal is 24 feet wide. 24 feet wide. How wide is it in meters? Okay, so first it asks us to go to meters, and then after it asks us to go to centimeters. So first we're going to start with in feet and go to meters. So we would look at our formula sheet. We have the same thing on this page, but it's also on our formula sheet. And we would go find feet and go to meters. Okay, so starting with feet, going to meters. So we're starting here, going that way. What we do to our 1 in order to get 0.31, all we're doing is we're just multiplying. Okay? We're just multiplying by this number here, 0.31. So if we have 24 feet and we want to convert it to meters, we're just going to multiply it by 0.31. And that's it. Okay, so somebody put that into the calculator. Tell me what you get. No. 7.44. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay. So 0. Oh, sorry, not 7.44. Okay, that is it in meters. Now, if we want to go to centimeters, okay, rather than starting back at the 24 feet, we already know how big it is in meters. Meters is easy to go to centimeters. We can just use our metric conversions. Okay, so that's where we can use our staircase. So we want to take this number and now just turn that into centimeters. So to go from meters down to centimeters would be 2 steps, 1, 2. So we're going to times by 10 times by 10, right? So it'd be like 7.44 times 10 times 10, which would give you 744 centimeters. Right. So it's the same thing as moving the decimal. 2 spots, 1, 2. Okay, so there's a practice question there. Let's do this example here. Yeah, Alfonso. Okay, he drove his truck from Edmonton to Regina, a distance of 436 miles. Okay, what distance did he travel in kilometers? So we're starting with 436 miles, and we want to say how much is that in kilometers. So we'll go to our formula sheet, or we can use this one up here. And we want to say we're starting with miles and going to kilometers. Okay. So all we're doing is just multiplying by this number, multiplying by 1.61. Okay. Right, so we'd say, was it 1.61? Yeah, so we'd say our answer is going to be 436 times 1.61. That will tell us how many kilometers it is. So if you, right, so yeah, if we were going from kilometers to miles, if we're starting with 1 kilometer and going to miles, then we would times by 0.62. Okay. All right. Yeah. 701.96. That's how many kilometers it would be to drive that distance. Okay, then lastly, this is somewhat a common sense question. So if it says if he paid 25 cents for every kilometer he drove, if he was paid that much, how much did he make? How much money did he make? Okay, so if he's traveled 701.96 kilometers and he made 25 cents for every single one, we just need to times it by 0.25. Right? For every single one of those, he's getting 25 cents. $175 and 25 cents. Okay. Okay. There is only one last example. Okay, like I said, this is a lot shorter and quicker than the last stuff here. So the last one just says if the length of a course is 7.6 kilometers, how far would the run be in miles? Okay, so we're starting in kilometers this time and going to miles. So for this one, it's going to be better to use the other chart. Okay, we're starting in kilometers. How much is 1 kilometer in miles? It is 0.62. Okay, so to go from kilometers to miles, we're just multiplying by 0.62. So we'd say 6.7 times 0.62. You put that in your calculator, what do you get? Somebody. 4.154 miles. It's a long 4. Okay, and that's it. So the trick here, the only real trick is just looking at which one do you need to start with. Okay, if you're starting with kilometers, if you're starting with metric, do the one that says metric to imperial. If you're starting with imperial, do the one that says imperial to metric. And then you're just multiplying by whatever number is there. Okay, and that's it. So then you guys can work on the practice problems for now. We'll move on to the next lesson, probably in like half hour-ish.